and welcome everybody to the 2023 Formula One World Championship, Fabio and Funk's all-time review of the São Paulo, for the Brazilian, for those that don't know, Grand Prix. And an exciting event it always is. We love being in Brazil. And it's not just the hookers, it's also the motor racing, the Formula One motor racing. That's why we're there. And it was a thrilling race, absolutely thrilling, until the warm-up lap. And then it wasn't so thrilling, guessing. If you haven't noticed, terror struck. Terror struck the São Paulo circuit. And unfortunately, there was a bit of a problem. I'm going to get straight in with the race review. The race review being very short this week. I know you don't believe me, but we shall see. We shall see. With the devil behind me, here we go. So in the formation lap, of course, the unfortunately Leclerc's Ferrari spun out due to hydraulic problems, lack of juice. I'm guessing similar to, of course, what happened to Carlos Sainz last week at the Mexican Grand Prix. Something to do with being in South America, Helmet told me. But there we go. That's another joke. Never mind. Not very funny, clearly. But anyway, anyway, on the form-up, Leclerc out. Hydraulic problems, and the steering wheel getting too heavy for him, and he spun off in mid-corner under some massive G's, presumably. And then the race started. That left, of course, Max Verstappen in pole position, and well, we all know what happens when Max Verstappen is in pole position. Max Verstappen wins the race, and this was to be no exception. The odd thing, obviously, this weekend, it was a sprint race, by the way, and I'm not even going to mention the sprint race because it was just deadly Max Verstappen. But there we go. The odd thing happened, which was there was a resurgence of the Aston Martins, which was pretty damn good. They decided to take off all of their updates, and their car performed considerably better. Although for how long into the race that was to be, only none shall know. Anyway, off the start, both Astons got away slowly. Both the Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton managed to get by. And then further back in the pack, I think it was Hulkenberg, which was squeezed by his teammate and Albon going around the outside, as Hulkenberg got a fairly bad start. And then Hulkenberg's front wheel collided with the rear wheel of Albon, spinning him into his teammate, taking both cars out. The tyre then came back onto the road and managed to take out Daniel Ricciardo. Well, at the same time, I think it was it Magnussen's car that hit the back of Piastri's car, taking out Piastri's underfloor or diffuser, and also some other bits and pieces. So yeah, that was basically 4 cars out in turn 1. Not actually that surprising. Some good driving though back in the field to avoid some of the collisions. Namely Hulkenberg, who started the whole thing, and then also Gasly as well, who managed to take a good evasive action and seemed to see the accident coming. Although, being that far back in the back, it's hardly surprising. They then stopped the race, restarted the race, and of course Max Verstappen and Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton got away in 1, 2, 3 with Stroll. I think it was Stroll behind, then Russell, and then a fast-charging Perez. I say fast-charging because, anyway, we'll talk about that as it goes on. And then the also-rans behind Perez, of course. Hamilton fell back behind Alonso. It was Alonso. And in the meantime, Norris was having a little pop at Max Verstappen. Of course, they're good buddies. There was never anything going to happen there. Norris tried a couple of times to get past. Unfortunately, just didn't have the speed. to actually get alongside Verstappen to put any pressure on. And of course, Verstappen doing his usual, running to the edge of the road, not leaving any space for somebody going around the outside. There was no chance Norris was ever going to get by. Then, of course, Russell decided to get past um, Perez. There was a bit of a ding-dong battle there. Perez managing to get back under DRS. Eventually, though, Perez getting past Hamilton for a fourth place, I should say, and Stroll trying to follow through. Lance Stroll getting past George Russell. Then, of course, it just left him to get past Hamilton, which he then did on lap 27. Gasly moving past Sargent, and there'll be a Sargent report later, I'm hoping. Lucky not with us at the moment, but I'm hoping he will arrive shortly. And of course, Sainz, the only remaining Ferrari, managing to eventually, lap 37, get past Hamilton, and on new tyres presumably, and also then the Alpines also getting past the Mercedes. What happened to the Mercedes? Don't really know. They ran out of tyres early and continued to stay running out of tyres. It was a bit of a show. Toto Wolff very disappointed, along with both of the drivers. They had a very low top speed, which you would think would preserve the tyres, but they were the first to run out of tyres. So not only did they have more downforce, they also had the worst tyre wear. Eventually, Russell dropping out on lap 59 and leaving just Lewis Hamilton in 8th place to come home. Perez then, in the last couple of laps, had a massive battle with Alonso. A real ding-dong, the highlight of the race. And Alonso just trying all his tricks to get by, despite the potentially moving in braking zones of Perez. But nonetheless, on the very last lap, Alonso comes from behind to overtake Perez into, can't remember which road it was, into turn 4. Yep, turn 4. And then with some hard driving, manages to put Perez off into the dirty side. And this means that Perez has to then come back. Verstappen goes on, of course, to win the race, as we said. And then on turn 11, I believe it is, Perez gets a fantastic run up the hill behind Alonso. But unfortunately for Perez, doesn't manage to get enough of a tow to overtake him before the finish line. So it was Verstappen in first place. Norris, a fantastically boring but dry drive in second place. Very fast McLarens again this thing. And then Alonso by 5,000ths of a second, 500ths of a second, 500ths of a second, manages to get third place from Perez, who at least was praised, very highly praised by Christian Horner for not throwing it in the bin. And then after that, it was Stroll in 5th place. Amazing, just amazing drive by Stroll. Carlos Sainz in 6th place. Good points for Sainz over the failing Mercedes team. Gasly in 7th place. An excellent result for Gasly. Lewis Hamilton 8th. Extremely disappointed. Really didn't like his car. Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri in 9th place, and Esteban Ocon in the other Alpine in 10th place, showing that they have the car for this circuit. Once again, a slightly weird kind of result, I guess you could say, in that it seems these cars and their quirks seem extremely circuit sensitive, and so you never really know when you get there exactly what the results are going to be or which teams are going to be in the ascendant. Having had a ascendance of Mercedes last race in Mexico to falling off and only managing to get one car in the top 10 this race, very strange. And that is the race roundup. So I'm going to pass it straight over to my co-host, your co-host, the co-host of the century, Fab, Fabio.
Jesus, I mean, it's getting longer and longer. I mean, it's a good thing there are only 2 races left. But anyway, okay. So, as you said, the sprint race, not too much interesting, save for the fact that Leclerc managed to save one set of soft tires. I mean, in insight, it wasn't really. But anyway, yeah, the sprint race went, as much as predicted. The race, you made the recap. I just want to point out some things. First of all, Ricciardo got hit on the back wing by, I don't know if it was Magnussen or, a tire in general during the accident. It was very unlucky because the tire literally bounced and hit his rear wing, so it was forced to stop. And that was a pity because he had to start from the pit lane with already one lap behind, but he kept a pace which was the same of the first 5 cars, generally speaking. So it would be a fantastic race for him. So unlucky Ricciardo. Alonso was bloody amazing. What he did to Perez in the last lap was fantastic. It's not just the fact that Perez didn't have enough tow. It's just that Alonso let him go at the first corner of the last lap, and he just went behind him, knowing full well, after the S of Senna, that it was going to overtake. And it was fucking brilliant. There is no way around it. He's 42 years old. Fuck me. With a car that is not half of what the Red Bull is, he just annihilated the poor bastard Perez. Norris could race. Verstappen won. Yeah. Mercedes were shit. They tried to make a full attack on the first stint of the race, and even with the tires, they didn't care too much about the tires, but they paid with dividends. At the end of it, the car was all over the place. It was a brick in the straight lines. Everybody and his brother was passing them very easily. So Mercedes was really bad car, to watch in Brazil. The Aston Martin, on the other end, as you said, they took some of the updates out. I think specifically they went back to the old floor. I think that was the main thing. They didn't ditch all the parts, some of them. And I think they went back to the old floor, and that car just, shone again. It was incredible how good it was, not only for the Alonso race, but even Stroll put up a good race. So yeah, the car seems to be back. At least they figure out something of what happened. Other things, both the Alphas went out, and and I was saying, Alfa Romeo, and I was sending a message, to Simon doing the race. Apparently, Ferrari told them to change the power unit before the race, and they didn't, and that reminded me a lot of what happened, with private teams, when the factory tells you, you better change the engine, and they say, no, we're gonna stretch it a little bit, and then inevitably, the engine, fails or explodes or whatever. The thing about Leclerc. Okay. So.
I'm just going to mute for this bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, they blame hydraulics. I have no idea what happened, right? The only thing I can say is that I never seen an hydraulic problem, something hydraulic failing and then coming back to life again. So that to me, it smells really, really, really weird. You know, they said that it wasn't the same problem that Sainz had last race, and I get it because it was totally different. I saw the data. It was published somewhere. So Leclerc apparently had so the data doesn't take care of the hydraulics per se. So what we could see is that the engine shut down at a certain moment, and it wasn't accelerating. It was actually braking. So it was trying to put some temperatures on the tires maybe in that moment. So it wasn't a problem of the engine being stressed or whatever, but the engine shut down. Then shut down, and he managed to restart the engine, and then the engine shut down again. He blamed the hydraulics because he felt the steering really hard, which makes sense. The thing which is puzzling me a lot, there are actually two things. The first thing is, as I said, hydraulics usually, when they fail, right? I mean, they fail because a hose breaks out, or there is a loss of pressure, but that loss of pressure, it doesn't get back. So that would be one thing. What I'm suspecting is that either something software happened or something in the electronics department happened, because it is true that the steering is hydraulic, but it's a ride-by-wire system. So there is an electric engine actuator which moves the hydraulic system for the steering. And the fact that the engine shut down said, there is a protection, which doesn't seem to be, really. I don't know how those cars are built, but it seems really strange to me. Yet he also had a failure in the gearbox. Well, in the gear commands, the car was stuck in fifth gear. So all of it, to me, it seems to be that there was probably either an electronic or a software problem that shut the engine down, didn't give command to the gearbox, that thing. So my gut feeling is that something in the actual steering wheel happened. There are many brain boxes in the car, and the steering wheel is one of them. So I think something happened there, but again, I don't know. I'm just not buying the hydraulic thing because of the reason I said before.
Okay. You don't think it was Satan?
Yeah, I mean, it might be. So it might be a Maxwell demon. So, so I think.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The other thing has nothing to do with what happened. I mean, with the fault in Leclerc car, and I mean, it has a lot to do with Leclerc. Leclerc is a driver which is a fucking good driver. I think he's the best driver on a single lap, which is now on the grid right now, and he showed on Friday when he made the second position with that car in Interlagos. So that is something which it's out of question. It is undoubtedly that Leclerc is one of the best, if not the best driver on a single lap. That is, I think there's no discussion there. The thing with Leclerc is that I have weird gut feelings of Chris Amon, Jean Alesi, those persons. He said it was really unlucky, and so I got to be super clear right now. He's right when he says that he's unlucky because they all. It seems to be that everything which happens to him. The fact that the car did what it did, that is not bad luck. He's right when he says bad luck because it always happens to him. But what happened to the car is not bad luck. I think there is a problem in Ferrari. It's either a problem with the procedures, it's either a problem with control. I don't know, but those things, they cannot happen. They do not happen with Mercedes. They do not happen with Red Bull. They do not happen even with. I mean, if you want to say, they don't happen with Aston Martin too. They don't happen with McLaren. The car, they do not break down. Ferrari has broke down too many times this year to say that it's bad luck. So there is that thing.
Yeah, again, in some sense, like I can imagine. Well, let me just say this first. Firstly, about Leclerc. Let me just say that.
But okay, sorry. Let me finish a little bit about Leclerc. Because that is the last sentence I want to say. So I've got really bad feeling, and I got reminded of Chris Hammond, Jean Alesi, that person's. Leclerc is a driver, as I said, nobody will convince me otherwise. Is one of the best drivers on the grid right now, and he's managed to build his well, I won't say career, but his aura, is established his presence despite the car that he's driving. He's been driving for, 4 or 5 years. He never had a winning car before with Sauber and now with those Ferrari. Regardless, he has found a way to show up that the driver that he is, regardless of the car. So basically what I'm saying is that, give that guy a proper car. Because, if there is anybody on the grid which deserves a proper car right now, it's Charles Leclerc, because of what he has proved and despite the material that has been given. That's it.
Okay. So Charles Leclerc first, before getting onto the Ferrari. So I too have a really funny feeling about Charles, mainly because he's such a good-looking lad. But there we go. We won't get too much into that. The Ferrari, though, I agree with what you're saying about his talent as a driver. He's extremely fast. Maybe a little too sensitive, I feel, and that could kind of that could be slightly to his detriment. In that, maybe he's not quite as bull-headed as someone like a Hamilton or a Verstappen, say. And maybe this is why the Ferrari problems with the car get to him a little more than, say, I don't know, Sainz, for instance. I think he's a little too sensitive to the car in that sense. But then that's why he's as fast as he is on a single lap, because he is so sensitive with the car and being able to control it. So there's good and bad sides for that. The downsides is that, and for me, this is pure speculation, of course, is that, of course, when Ferrari last year were trying to catch up with the Mercedes over the last few years, catch up with the Mercedes, they've had to push the engineering boundaries just a little too close. And I think they're paying the price for it now. In some sense, I think this is a good thing for Ferrari, though, because as they've been pushing the boundaries for performance out of their engine, which they've certainly got, but at what cost, I would say, as they've been pushing the boundaries for their engine, I think also this will allow them free development in the future, which is going to be a good thing. And I believe there is an extra amount of money they can spend on engine development if it's full reliability, which doesn't come out of the cost cap. So I'm hoping that they will use that to good effect this year and make another step forward with their engine for next year. and being able to both increase the power and reliability. Although, of course, Formula One engines being what they are, you're going to keep pushing them, really, aren't you?
I agree. I agree with you up to a certain point. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and as I said, in general, I agree with you. There's some points that I am not. So the first one is the fact that when they say, "Oh, we're going to stop developing because we're going to put effort in a new car, whatever," that is bullshit. That is total bullshit.
I didn't say that. Didn't say that.
No. I know. But
okay,
I'm getting
just checking
to a
where
point.
you're disagreeing with me,
Yes,
or whether
yes.
you're just making another point.
No. That is okay. You see where I'm going in a very short term. In these days and age where you can't test the cars, you've got to put new things in the car, and you got to research constantly, because even if it doesn't make sense to put the effort in a new car or the new engine. This is partially where you were going, because racing is the only way where you can test the things. I don't think that the engine per se, when I say engine, I'm talking about the power unit, and specifically the part which goes bang. I think they actually have a very good package, and the reason why I think that is the only thing which is working, in my opinion. And the reason I'm saying that is that I think that Ferrari is a very inefficient car, and the fact that they're still able to pull up the speed that they can on the straight speaks volumes about the power unit and the thing that they are. So I don't think that they got problem on that side, and I don't think that they've been. You said something on the line, not taking back, but being a little bit too much. I can't remember how you put it, but they tried a little bit too much, they stressed a little bit too much.
They've just pushed the error bars a little too close, right?
I think, so I think that as far as the engine goes, that is the only part which personally I would save about the car. There is a lot around which, to me, it doesn't smell right. Again, the car is really inefficient. If you put too much downforce, it doesn't go. If you don't, it still has too much drag. So it's a problem. The other thing which is worrying me a lot, and we touched it last week again. When the car is slow, they don't know why it's slow. When the car is fast, they don't know why it's fast. That is a big issue, because basically means that you got an object that you have no fucking idea how it works. And you built it, so you should know, but you don't. That, again, to me, it's a huge problem. It's a massive problem. And I think that is one of the main problems that Ferrari has this year. The fact that they don't know. The car is really picky. It works well only in a very tight window where the tires perform in a certain way, the track is smooth in a certain way, the corners are made in a certain way. I mean, there are so many things that they have to align in order to have the car working properly that it's almost impossible to happen. So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more to do with redundancies within the I would say the sensor system. That's what it seems to me. I don't think these are major issues. I think it's to do with, in order to have these redundancies built into the engine itself, when things start going, it tends to shut down sensors, right? And then at some point, it's got to make a decision between shutting down the engine or shutting down some other. So when something happens,
No, I see. I see what you're saying. So you're
Yeah.
talking specifically about what happened on Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
regardless of the safety features that happened over there, I think that is another issue which has to do with a poor reliability thing. But
Mm.
my gut feeling, and again, I have no data on that. I think
No,
that
and like I
they
started
have.
with, this is purely my speculation,
Yes,
and
yes.
is bullshit.
I, I think that what happened on Sunday, it has more to do with poor workmanship in the garage, meaning,
Hmm.
there might be some procedures that are wrong or they're not followed properly or that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Because, so when you set up a machine like that, they, like for example, I know I'm positive that they know exactly why the engine stalled or
Mm.
stopped. There is, so if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, the engine has to stop, which is, either safety features or whatever. It is not possible that that happens in the outlap. If it happens in the outlap, means that there is either a sensor which is wrong, or something which has
Mm.
not been checked, or some cabling which is fucked up. I'm just saying things. So I think
Yeah,
this
yeah,
has
that's
more
pretty
to do
much where I
with
was going with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm. I don't
yeah.
know. It seems odd as well. Just as a by the by, it seems odd. They obviously they're saying nothing to do with the failure of Carlos Sainz's car last week. But it seems strange that they both reported almost exactly the same message to the team upon failure, right? So I mean, Carlos
I,
said my steering's gone, hydraulics, right? I mean, that was Carlos last week, and the same thing happens this week on the outlap to Leclerc. So I don't know. It's a bit strange to me. It seems to me this is probably more an indication of an old engine rather than a new one, and
I
that's
don't
what
know.
led me to think about. Sorry, that's what led me to think about maybe this is to do with pushing the engine's reliability too far, rather than just a straightforward building error or machine part error, something like that.
I mean, I don't know. It might be the case. I'm not saying you're
Yeah, yeah.
wrong and I'm right. I just put something more on the table. Just think. So Ferrari
Okay.
came from 2 years where reliability, it was an issue at the beginning, but last year, it turned out to be, different. Of
Mm,
course, it was the engine problem, so they had to turn it down. But
mm.
overall, the car was okay.
Yeah, not bad, not
And
bad considering that was when
no,
they
no, no.
first increased the power, right?
Right. No,
Back
no, but
from when they
okay,
were
so
told, the TD, whatever it was,
right,
14 or something.
but yeah, but here where I'm trying to go.
Mm,
So they went from that situation to the situation that they are this year, where there are some things in reliability which happens that nobody seems to understand what the fuck is going on. Ferrari came from 2/3 years where it was managed by an engineer,
mm.
and this year is not managed by an engineer.
Ah,
See where I'm going there. So to me, it seems to be that there were some priorities before that they're not the same priorities right now, or the persons which they're supposed to to dictate those procedures and to check the procedures are followed. So the mindset is different,
mm. I see.
and it's weird.
It
It
is.
might be a chance. It might be, I don't know, but it's really strange that the previous years you had an engineer on top of the team with all the
Hmm.
problems that you know we talked about.
Yeah.
Now they don't, and it seems to be that they have some engineering procedural problems, which they didn't. So
Mm.
I think they
Maybe.
still have to find a good balance with those two things.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I also think that look, I mean, being real, the problems in Aston Martin, the problems that McLaren started with, the problems that Mercedes have done while trying to push their car to get performance. All of these problems, um, or the problems including AlphaTauri's problems at the beginning of the year, all of these problems relate to trying to catch up a car whose fundamental properties and design not only had a bonus of an engine update, where hang on, where all sorry, I thought you were going to disagree there. I could see your
No, no,
breathing.
no, 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 no,
not
no.
only not only did the Red Bull have an engine update, which was kind of done by the idea of Honda leaving, of course, and then deciding not to leave, and then supporting the package after all, and coming with a new update, where none of the other engine manufacturers, including Ferrari, were allowed to do that. Not only having to catch up there, but also having, a fantastic aero package, as we know, as Adrian Newey designed. He's a aero genius, and so it occurs to me that these other cars, including the Mercedes going the wrong way with their zero package, all of these cars have had, or the only cars that have turned around and increased their performance in any really fundamental way are two things. Firstly, the cars that copied the Red Bull, right? So mid-season, McLaren went, fuck it, we're just going to copy the Red Bull design and see the closest we can get to it, and that's done well for them. Then Alonso and they obviously had a good car to start with, because they somehow managed to get down the same path as the Red Bulls. But when they tried to bring updates to improve their thing and get closer to the Red Bull, right, they seem to fall back. Very strange in itself. So, and then the third thing, of course, is that the AlphaTauri, when not taking as many parts as they possibly could from Red Bull, didn't have a good car and was constantly in 14th, 15th place. And now, of course, it's in the top 10 after taking as much as they can from the Red Bull. So it seems to me that this leads to me to believe that not only do Red Bull have an engine advantage with the last update that Honda brought, whereas none of the other manufacturers have been able to put an update into their engine, other than reliability, of course. And then secondly, not just that, of course, but also the fact that their aero package has been started out as the best and has been developed all season. And I think somewhat with some misdirection, mainly because of bendy parts, which of course was a mid-season thing. And I think the other teams have tried desperately to catch up and have gone the wrong way as a result, because I think it's a knife edge that these cars are balanced on in terms of performance. And that's where Red Bull have really scored in terms of really dominating, not just the having a better car. Yes, they had a better car from the beginning, but also having an increasingly better car as the season's gone on. And normally that doesn't happen so much. Over to you, Fabio.
There is I think that there is a common denominator that we can see clearly this year. So if we consider the first three teams, Red Bull right now, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, and then there is, I would say, Ferrari, Aston, and whatever, right? So let's take the first three ones and see what is the difference. If you notice the first three forces, right? Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes. You can name the fucking engineer which is responsible for the car. In Red Bull, you have the package of Christian Horner and Adrian Newey that are working in conjunction. One is doing one thing, and one is doing the other thing, and they work together and that's the car. The result is that car. In McLaren, you have Andrea Stella, which is is in following the project. Is the one who said the car is shit. Wait until, because we're gonna bring new packages, and the car has been on the rise. Actually has been on the rise when he said that the car was going to be better. So they knew exactly what was happening. Mercedes, you got James Allison. Again, it's another person. It's there. We're dealing with those things. Aston Martin, I will take it as an example because they tried to do things, but they knew that they understood what the problem is. They got back, and now the car is better. And again, you have another name. Luca Furbato is the head engineer. He's the one which is responsible, that kind of things. That's it. Who the fuck is the head engineer in Ferrari?
I don't know.
It's impossible to know who the fuck he is without Googling.
Is it Luigi from the game?
It's a guy named David Sanchez.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if I tell you the name, you remember that. But nobody fucking knows who the fuck he is, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where I was trying to go. F1 is a sport where the car is paramount. Actually, Alonso, tried to disprove the concept last Sunday. Thank God for Alonso, right? But generally speaking, the car is paramount on the performances of over the performances of the driver. All those teams, they have a person that you can refer to, that you can go to, is the go-to person which is responsible for the project. Ferrari had it up until a couple of years last year. And that was too shifted on that direction because everything else was going to shit, like strategy and all that crap. Now they've gone the other way around, and you can see that what is failing in Ferrari right now is the engineering part. So what I'm saying is that they're lacking the proper balance, and they try to find. When Schumacher was winning, it was easy. You had John Todd and Ross Brown. That's it. It's the same thing which happened right now in Red Bull. You have Christian Horner and Adrian Newey. And in Ferrari, they had Jean Todt and Ross Brown. And the thing, and we've been saying that, I think, this year, not too much time ago. The thing which is really driving me crazy is that Ferrari was the first one in modern times to actually they figure out that balance. From the times of Mauro Forghieri and Montezemolo. It goes back to those times, and it seems to be that they set up a proper road that everybody said, okay, that's the proper one, and everybody but Ferrari decided to go another way. It drives me to the fucking wall. It's so incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think a scale is something to do with it. It seems as well. If we're talking about that system setup, Ferrari seems to be. Have its race team surrounded by a lot of people from within the higher up the company, the motor division, etc., which all seem to want to have a say in the race team. Whereas Mercedes, of course, who are very, not doing well at the moment, admittedly, mainly because I think quite a few of their people were poached last year and the year before. Which just goes to show you the balance of the team is everything, to prove your point. But also, obviously the motor division of Mercedes is owned by Toto Wolff mainly, not just Mercedes, but Toto Wolff owns a large share in that company, and won't broke anybody's interference from Mercedes
Yeah.
about how the team is run. And that doesn't seem to happen at Ferrari, and that's the same for all of, shall we say, just to use an old term, the Garagista,
Yeah.
whatever the word is,
No, you're
teams.
right.
You know,
You're right.
they're all small.
You have a very good point there. I still think that Ferrari as Ferrari still got all the potential to be the number one team in F1, but it's more, and coming to your point, for them it's way more difficult because they are making everything in house. So all the conflicts and all the problem, what you would think might be easier, because if you have the engine department and the vehicle department, in the same house, you would think, okay, they can talk to each other really better. The synergy is way more. That is apparently something which it's way more difficult to have in the house rather than having somebody like, I don't know, Adrian Newey telling on okay, I want this engine to be built. Those are the specifics, the dimensions, the stuff like that, because I've got to put it in that frame, and that's it. It's a paradox, but it seems to be that it's working like that. And but again, it's I think it's a balance problem, and
Okay.
it's going to be it's going to be difficult, but can still hope, see what happens, and see.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay. I mean, are we happy about Aston Martin's kind of achievement? Do you think? I was intimating earlier that this was due. Really, it's down to circuits rather than it is down to than it's down to straight car performance improving and not improving. It seems to me this season it's been very variable as to how good particular cars do. In fact, there's been no one challenger to Verstappen, which kind of to me shows that in fact it is down to
Well, I mean, it is true that most of the cars, so except Red Bull, which seems to me that it goes well in almost every circuit, except the really bumpy ones.
Well, I mean, it won at St. Paulo, didn't it? Again.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking more about Singapore and the one after that, that they had issues.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were not as
Dominant.
dominant as the other ones. It is true that most of the other cars, they're very circuit dependent. I think that Aston Martin is a different it's a different problem. They went with some upgrades, and I think they had a road to follow in the upgrades, and good for them that at a certain point they figure out that that road was going nowhere, and from São Paulo they went back to some old parts, not all of them but some old parts, and it seems to me that the car has really improved. And I'm not talking, and again, don't look at Alonso, look at Stroll.
Stroll, yeah.
Because Stroll, which was a driver that we were joking about it up until a couple of races ago, saying that
he's going to go play tennis, yeah.
right, yeah. He went from playing tennis to being an F1 driver again. And the thing, again, the fact that they had an engineer, they said no, okay, listen, we're going nowhere. This is the wrong road. Let's go back to what we know. And the car actually made a massive improvement. We'll see what happens. I mean, granted, there are only 2 races, and the next one is going to be really weird. By the way, I'm expecting a majestic Leclerc in Las Vegas.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I am glad to
Just
hear
so
that.
you know,
Yeah, of course,
because
everybody. Next week is it next week? Probably the week after. Las
it's
Vegas
the
is
week
the
after.
next circuit. 2
Yeah,
weeks time, Las Vegas.
yeah.
So the first Las Vegas, a weird timing as well. I don't know what time they're going to be. It's like 5 in the morning here or 6 in the morning here, I should think.
I think it's
Uh,
going to be 8 in the UK, 9
oh,
where I
okay.
am, the race. It's going to be something like that. No, I'm
Uh,
expecting a brilliant Leclerc for 2 reasons. First one is that nobody knows the circuit, so that's it. And the second one is that it's a city circuit where, Leclerc has been shown to be fucking brilliant. So I have really high hopes for that. But again, going back to Aston Martin, there are only 2 races, so it would be really difficult to see, if what we said before is actually the case, because Las Vegas is Las Vegas, and then there is the last race. But again, it seems to be that they managed to say, okay, that's not working. Let's go back to what we know, and the car actually performed really well, especially again with Stroll. So
okay. We shall definitely look forward to that. The first race in Vegas, a night race, has incredibly long straights. So we're also expecting the Williams to do fairly well. But we shall see. We shall see.
yeah,
Okay,
we shall see.
I'm going to just do a little section at the end here, Fabio. I'm going
Yeah,
to do myth or quiz, quiz or myth, myth and
yeah.
quiz, quiz and myth. What the fuck is it? We don't really know.
We
So
don't know.
I'm going to do this out. Unfortunately, Lucky's not here. We miss you, Lucky. Please let us know you're okay and everything's all good.
Yeah.
Of course. So I'm just going to do the section that Lucky's hasn't actually sent me anything, but I'm going to pretend he has. Okay,
Right.
so there was for myth. I'm going to do the myth first. So there was a special stone that was put onto a car at Monaco a few years ago. Very special
Oh, yeah.
stone. It was
Yeah.
a magic stone. I
Yeah.
don't know if you know, that crashed both the cars, unfortunately.
Yes.
And basically, I want to know who was responsible for that. Who ended up with the stone? Who was responsible? Can
I
you
so
remember
I
that?
remember they put a diamond on the nose of 2 cars.
It happened to be made of diamond. Yes.
Yeah, but I can't
Remember, this is a
remember.
myth.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I can't remember which team it was. I
Okay.
think maybe Force India, something
No, no,
strange. No, okay,
no.
no.
It wasn't Lucky Strike. It was the Lucky Strike.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
fair
believe.
enough.
555. Anyway,
Yeah.
but no, that isn't the answer. The answer, of course, is it was Saruman the White was responsible for the stone. It was a very special magical stone, and he ended up crashing both the cars because he needed the stones back in order to fight Grandolph the Grey. So that's the myth out the way with. As you can tell, that was a myth. And now the question. So the question is, in 1990, Nigel Mansell was in fact in his second year at a contract with a very well-known team, Ferrari, of course, and he had a special teammate join him. And I'm not going to say who the teammate was just yet, as you'll get this. You'll get this. So they had this very special teammate. The teammate came in and was promoted to number 1 driver straight away, of course, and Mansell, much to Mansell's dismay. And so the question is, who is the friend, the childhood friend of the person who joined the Ferrari team in 1990? Could you give me the name of his personal friend from the 8th grade?
I don't know.
You don't know? Oh,
What was
okay.
it, Francois?
Oh, that's close. No, it was in fact
Okay.
Jean-Pierre.
Oh,
So there we
okay.
go. That's a point to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
That means I'm leading the championship. I'm leading the
well
quiz.
deserved. Well
Thank
deserved. Cheers.
thank you
Yeah,
so much.
well
Jean-Pierre
deserved.
was, of course, Alain Prost's childhood friend from the 8th grade. There we go. Okay, so that's the quiz. I'm leading the quiz now, 53-1.
Yes, that's one way to do it.
You
Jeez.
managed to, because you didn't give the right answer, you got a deduction of points, and there we go. And I forgot to tell you, that question was worth a lot.
I should have smelled that there was a rat coming because just because of the fact that I think that one of the persons which gave a prize in Brazil last Sunday was I don't know if she was the daughter or the nephew of Eccleston. So yeah, I should have smelled the rat coming. So Eccleston is coming back. And the Brits are, starting to make their dirty tricks again. Yeah, okay.
Okay, no, I mean, no, Jean-Pierre, that's a perfectly reasonable answer, I feel.
Yeah.
Francois wasn't a bad guess, though, so I'll give you, I'll say that. But obviously, Francois was, in fact, the bully that used to bully Alan Prost, saying he would never be able to drive his bike properly. So there you go. In some sense, a very important person in his life. Okay, look, that's the end of the show. We're just coming up to an hour. Lucky, we miss you. Please come back. I can't do that section without you. In fact, we desperately need you to be at the show, so thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and coming to watch us do this again. That was the Brazilian Grand Prix. In 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time. It is, of course, the United States Las Vegas Grand Prix, a very special occasion.
Viva Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas. Now, I should have done a question about that. Anyway, there you go. And we'll do that next week, hopefully. So thank you, everybody, for coming along. And we will see you in the next one. Ciao.
Yeah, cheers. Ciao.